Parlez-vous français. Yeah. So
Parlez-vous français?
Parlez-vous français. Yeah, that's the new way. So there we go. By the way, thank you, Dax, for doing
My
this.
pleasure. Yeah, we'll get Rick on some other time.
Yeah, I just didn't know. I wanted to be prepared. I didn't want to have Rick or your brother or anybody else show up and go, "Oh, I don't have any questions for him."
Yeah, COVID times. Nobody just shows up anymore. Luckily, it's been nice.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's talk about the this Nielsen Trust, and you've got this live stream coming up on February 24th from the Lincoln Hall, and you can head over to the Nielsen Trust on Facebook and find out more. But talk to me just real quick about the concept of the band in terms of you've got Miles, you've got his wife Kelly, you've got your dad, you. Is this just sort of a family fun, party band, or is this something that, as Cheap Trick will start winding down in the next few years, you start rolling this up and say, hey, you know what? Let's keep this music alive. Let's keep the family going.
Yeah, maybe. It was long story. Well, how long is the podcast? As long as we want it? No.
Whatever.
As long as you want. What time do you have to be on air, Jeremy? You got to be on air at 6?
I've got a good hour, so we're good.
All right.
Yeah, me too. About that, I've got a kid who's napping. So anyways.
Until they start crying, we got time.
Yeah. Long and short of it is that we had March of last year off, 2020. And for like the first time ever, I had a month off with Cheap Trick, and Rick had a month off. And we'd been talking about it for years, just to, my brother Miles and I had a band together for 7 years called Harmony Riley. We started in 97 all the way through 2004. And, I got some traction around the Midwest, a bit on the West Coast, but never really quite broke anywhere. Put out a bunch of albums and played 1,000 shows, whatever. And then finally broke up, and he did his thing. And then I went out to Los Angeles and became a hired gun, if you will. And then fast forward to 2010, I've joined Cheap Trick for 11 years now. And
so doing great.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's crazy. I had my 10-year anniversary in March of 2020.
Is that weird to say that? Yeah, I'm the drummer in Cheap Trick.
I'm still, no matter what, I'm the new guy. And,
yeah,
it's kind of like that with Ron Wood in the Rolling Stones. He's the new guy. He's been there for 35 years, 40 years.
It's like Vivian Campbell in Def Leppard. He's been there since 90, Mitch, and he's still the new guy. So
yeah. So we just kind of always talked how, Miles and I got to play together for years, and Rick and I have played together for years, and the three of us have never really played together, except for if Miles and I had a band going, Rick would show up and play 3 songs and then leave, kind of sit in with the band, or Miles has played with Cheap Trick here and there when we did the orchestra shows. But we finally had time to do it. So we kind of thought, okay, we have a full month. So we've got about 3 hours worth of music together. Cheap Trick songs, Harmony Riley songs, which was Miles and I's band. And then a bunch of Miles Nielsen songs, and we learned some covers, and we got this whole thing. We booked like 20 shows, and we got 2 of them in, and COVID happened. We did March 6th and 7th, and then
we're done.
I believe that 11th, 12th, 13th, that's when the world kind of shut down for musicians. So I had my 10th anniversary with Cheap Trick on March 10th-ish, and I haven't played a gig with them since. And I've done just a couple Nielsen Trust shows and 1 live stream. So,
well, I've had a chance to see some of those videos on YouTube. There's "Oh Caroline" and "Voices" done with the Nielsen Trust. You do give it a different interpretation. Is that strange for you as the drummer? Because you have your fills and your stuff ready, and now you're sort of slowing it down and changing. Does it change how you approach them?
Yeah, I would say yeah, because it's more how we would do them as a band versus, with Cheap Trick, I'm pleasantly obligated, if you will, to play the parts. They're great parts, and everybody that comes to see the band knows those parts, and those are the correct parts that should be played. So I try to do those justice when, and Nielsen Trust, we're trying to not step on Cheap Trick's toes by any means. We only play obviously when Cheap Trick's not playing, and we're trying to do songs that we rarely do with Cheap Trick, if ever. And we're doing, like I said, some covers and some originals, and we've worked on a couple of originals in this time off.
Wow.
Stuff that just wouldn't fit with Cheap Trick necessarily.
Though, of course, Cheap Trick's music has gone everywhere, so sort of anything.
That's the hard part. Yeah, that's the hard part.
Yeah.
There's nothing that doesn't fit.
What
Rick always says, we don't play that wiki stuff, which is like, wow, like hippie jam band. He's like, don't ever stop playing that wiki.
Here, let me ask you one more question before I turn it over to Jeremy for a bit. But you, of course, grew up in Cheap Trick in the sense that you were always around. You were on tour. You were backstage. I mean, it's your dad.
Right.
When it was time to replace Bunny, was it easy just to step in and because you've heard these parts all your life, you didn't really have to learn them. They were sort of in you.
Right.
Was that sort of easy just to sort of step in and not have to like go join the Scorpions or go join some other band where you'd really have to like, oh, okay, I got to learn these things?
I mean, the way you phrase it like that, yes. I mean, if I had to go, if Pearl Jam called me tomorrow, knock on wood, and said, hey, we're going on tour, you need to learn our catalog, it would take a lot more effort than, even though I'm a fan, it's not in my DNA. Whereas Cheap Trick was like, I mean, I worked hard when I got the phone call to come fill in, I didn't know if it would be a week or 12 years. But yeah, I mean, I crammed for 3 days, even though I knew the stuff. I didn't want to show up and be like, oh man, I thought I knew this stuff. You know how it is when you're playing along with something, it's easy. Oh, this part's coming up, but then you go play it with a band. You're like, wait, how's that part go again?
It's like, completely different from like air drumming it to actually like playing it.
Yeah, it's like the analogy of hitting a tennis ball against the garage door versus actually playing against somebody. It's like,
yeah,
you think you're good until you actually play.
Well, talk about that because, Bunny, in a way, is one of the most influential drummers for a certain pocket of drummers. And he really kind of he's the epitome of the less is more drummer. And he's so in the pocket and so much groove. What's it like, stepping into those shoes? And like you said, do you have to go in and recreate every drum fill verbatim, or is it okay? Like, is it expected for you? You're not him and you want to put your own little flavor on it.
I don't know. I think it depends who you're talking to. I think there's a lot of people, myself included, that when I first came to play with them, I want to do this as true as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's some people that would say, just do your own thing. Like, that's his stuff. And, the song is the song and do your thing. But, I think at this point, a decade in, I think I'm somewhat of a hybrid. But I mean, like I said, those parts, I'm not going to come out and do a Billy Cobham solo at the beginning of Ain't That a Shame. I'm going to do Bunny's drum. I'm going to do that style of solo.
Yeah. But I asked that, I wonder that because, you look at all the flack that somebody like Eric Singer from Kiss has gotten for all these years. I mean, okay, he's wearing the makeup, we get that. But for a little while, everybody said, oh, he's even playing every single fill that Peter was playing. And I'm like, well, no, actually, because that's not true. Right. Eric is such a way better drummer. Right. Okay, there is a little bit of Peter in there, but there is also his personality. So, I was always curious if you were kind of pressured, like, if your dad was like, play the record, that's it, or no, have some fun with it.
Yes. Yes to both. I mean, like there wasn't really, it's Cheap Trick, first of all. There was no rehearsal involved. There was no,
right.
On my end, there was no plan. It was just like, hey, come on, like, let's go play some gigs. Like, all right. I'm paraphrasing. That's not exactly how it happened, but I had literally like 72 hours notice before I went and did Austin City Limits, which was my first official, in hindsight, official gig with Cheap Trick. At the time, like I said, they needed a drummer for a couple of days. Who knows? I still don't really know.
You're like, yeah, I'm in. I'll do it.
Yeah, I'm a non-original member. That's why I put it, and I'm doing my best to just, to do the band justice and do the parts justice. And
you're doing great. Let me ask you just real quick here. You've got this tour in Australia that was just announced. That's supposed to start, I think, at end of April with Bush and Stone Temple Pilots.
Mm-hmm.
Great bill, by the way. Bring it to North America when you get a chance. But how confident are you? Because you look at the little video montage and it says, oh, the National Service, Border Service has permitted this tour to happen. Does it happen? And if it does, do you sort of just stay in Australia and play as long as you can to rack up the gigs?
I've been to Australia. I think this will be my 5th or 6th time on tour, and there's only so much Australia you can play. To be honest, I mean, every time I've been there for almost a month, because you only typically play 2 to 3 shows a week, because play Sydney and then there's a day in between, then you play Brisbane, and then there's the weekdays. There's no gigs on like Monday through Wednesday, basically. So the story, it's been a year now since gigs are happening, and so it's happening. It's what I'm told. It's the situation, and I'm trying not to say anything that is out of context, but they don't really have any cases over there. Like, they're safe. they're contained. So it's up to us to get over there, the whole production, all 3 bands and all that, and quarantine and make sure that none of us brought anything over. And then once that happens, I think we're allowed, I know to at least travel, but I don't know if we're allowed to even like walk on the streets. I really don't know at this point. So, I don't know. I've been
It'll be fun though. It'll be fun to get out
I've
there.
been in the industry for a long time, and I've always learned that until you're on the airplane or until you're on stage, don't tell people it's not happening until you know, tours get canceled. Michael Jackson, the world tour, and that didn't happen, or that's a different scenario, I suppose. But
well, he died like 3 days before he had to get on the plane.
That kind of hampers everything a little bit. But yes, I mean, hypothetically, we're going to get over there, make sure we're not containing anything that they don't want to be, allowed. It's still kind of, it's mind-boggling to me that I might actually get to go on tour.
Yeah.
I don't think anything in the United States is going to happen for real till maybe the fall, maybe next year.
Right. Well,
it's just too soon. I mean, by the time they're allowing thousands of people to get together, it's going to be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 more months, and it's February. So
anyway, this tour is great. I mean, it's got 12 dates from what I can tell. So
yeah, I think so. I think Perth got canceled because they're on full. They've locked down their borders.
Yeah.
As of now, so maybe they're not even gonna risk it in 2 months.
Talk to me also about recently, or in November, it was announced that you were signed to BMG, and here's a band that's gone from Red Ant to this thing and that thing, smaller labels. Now you're back on BMG. How important is that for the band, and how exciting is that? Because when Another World comes out, it's going to have that push. It's going to have that label behind them. It's going to have that prestige.
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, Cheap Trick's still relevant. There's a lot of bands of their age group and whatever that, they just go out and they play the hits, and people go out and they have some beers and go on a date, and then they go, do whatever they do after a concert. So, but Cheap Trick, I mean, this will be my 4th album that I've been on in the last 3 or 4 years. I don't think last year counts. It's just,
just condensed it.
I say last year. When I say last year, I mean 2019. Because 2020 didn't exist as far as music. I mean, and we've got more songs that we want to record. It's just a matter of getting together at this point, which just isn't happening. So we're kind of all doing our writing and everything, and there's going to be lots of press and promo, and this album's going to come out. It's going to be pushed, and once again, Cheap Trick will be in the press. It's just awesome.
It's going to be great.
Yeah, just stay.
I'll tell you what, I got the full final mix order and everything, and it's good. It's good. If you like the last couple albums, you're gonna like this one too.
By the way, I see your ZZ Top shirt, Jeremy. The one great thing that it's been to be a fan over the years is I've seen Cheap Trick open for ZZ Top. I've seen Cheap Trick open for Pearl Jam. I saw Cheap Trick open for Poison, I guess 2 years ago. They fit in everywhere.
Everywhere. Yeah. That I traveled to I saw you guys on my 21st birthday at the Greek Theater in LA. You guys are on the same bill as Peter Frampton, and it was one of my favorite shows ever. The only thing I was pissed is that you guys didn't play Southern Girls.
Well, we can't please everyone. That's like I said about some bands, they go out and they play the hits, and exactly what they're going to say in between every song. And some bands like Cheap Trick, we're going to go out there. We have 75 minutes or whatever, 90 minutes, and we're going to play I Want Me, Dream Police, Surrender, probably The Flame, and then everything else is up for grabs. Really.
Then how do you guys decide what you're going to play then? What's is it like a political thing with the set list? Or you guys just all right, let's do this with like a catalog like that? There's so many songs. How do you choose?
I have a laminated set list, not set list, but a song list, if you will.
Right.
There's a difference, I guess. Not an actual set list that we're going to play.
No, but just before you answer, when I saw you with Poison, you came out and you did this song Blood Red Lips, and I was like, I think it was your first performance ever, and I was like, yeah, that's why you show up to a Cheap Trick show, because it's something different. It's not just the same 15.
It's not the same lip synced production with the same lights and the screens, and it's almost like I feel like it's an impromptu show. Let's just get up and jam our songs.
I mean, such a highlight. Rick always says, our mistakes are real, which it's like you see some bands and they're up there faking it and there's whatever, but he's like, if we screw up, we screw up. You know, if we start over, hey, let's try. You get a song and a half, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, it keeps it at their point in their career, 45 years plus in, like, you know, when you're away from your family and you're on the tour bus and you're doing the same thing, why not switch it up and make today different than yesterday and make it worth your time to leave the house and make it worth the fans' time to leave their house to come see the show.
Yeah.
You'd be shocked though how many people bitch like, oh, I didn't hear Southern Girls. Like, well, come last night, come tomorrow. You might hear, you know, like, you know, we can't play every single song. They've got 22 albums at this point. You know, there's 250 songs.
Yeah, I'm different to Jeremy. I actually really love when you play something different. It's like, oh, they didn't play, you know, California Girls
Right.
again. They did Blood Red Lips tonight. Thank God. Like
Right.
it keeps it fascinating.
But that's what I mean. It's like, you know, with a band like, but then you also got the fans that say, well, why not just go out and play the hits? You know, every other band, that's what they do. They stick to the hits. That's what the fans want to hear. You know, why don't you guys do that?
Because I don't know. Because we don't have to, I guess. You know, I think Cheap Trick's, they're that band that they're not your typical band in any way. You know, some bands you can tell are that they come out and they play their greatest hits album because that's all anybody wants to hear.
Right. But there are three bands, I think, like that. It's Pearl Jam, Cheap Trick, and Metallica.
Okay.
Fans go to those shows because they know it's not the same show.
Right.
And that's why when they go on tour, you will buy tickets to 5 cities because you know you're getting 5 separate shows. Whereas some other bands, you go, I go once, I don't need to go tomorrow because it's the same.
Right.
Yeah. Well, look, Mitch, we saw the same Kiss concert like 6 times in the last 2 years.
It's crazy, right?
So, you know,
and people do. You know, I've got, I won't say the band name. You could insert any of these bands that do it, and like they have super fans that come to every show, and I'm like, what's the difference? They're like, I just love being around the band. They don't care that like they literally know what the next song is going to be and what they're going to say, and I don't know.
or what the front man's going to say, what kind of banter, insert city name here.
You know,
Well,
the last Metallica tour, I saw 5 shows and I saw 40 songs.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
it was 40 different. I was like, that's why you pay for this. Just get back to the Nielsen Trust. So after you do the live stream from the Lincoln Hall on February 24th,
Right.
Audiotree.tv/streams for tickets.
Thank you very much.
Nah, that's right. Got to get that in. See, that's why Jeremy's here for the plugs. You know how to plug. But where do we go from here? Is it just one and done, or you know, and then we head off to Australia, or do you start thinking, okay, let's keep doing these streams until the business opens up?
We have this stream. We have a tour booked. It's not up yet because once again, this tour that we're about to do, it's after Australia, but it's already been pushed twice. So, you know, it was a tour that was booked for last March, and then we moved it to December, and now it's February. And so it's like, how many times you keep posting your tour dates and then having to cancel them? People, you know, and you'd be shocked how many people too that are like, you know, I bought tickets for this show. Are you going to play it? It's like, how am I supposed to know until, you know, hey, when's your next gig? What do you think? I'm like,
Isn't it a strange conversation though? I mean, if this was an interview 2 years ago, it'd be like, we're going to Montreal on this date, we're going to Ottawa on that date. And now it's like, the only ones that you're guaranteed is I'm playing Florida. I'm playing Florida. Okay, that though.
And Australia, apparently.
Australia, you know, that you got to fly for 3 days to get there and then quarantine for 2 weeks. And then, but hey, it's going to be worth it because we're going to do some gigs in 2021.
It's kind of like, hey, we're coming to your town. See you there if it happens.
If it happens. I know. Isn't it? We actually, Nielsen Trust, forgot, we did one extra. We did in September, we did a baseball stadium in Rockford, Illinois. It was us and Blackberry Smoke, which is a great band. I don't know if you know
Great
those
bill.
guys.
Wow, that's awesome.
It was great. And we played outside. It's our local baseball team. I think the stadium holds 8,000 or something like that. And we sold 1,200 tickets. And it was outside, and you had to come with your group, and it was totally socially distanced. And I left feeling like that we didn't put anybody at risk, you know. And I think that'll be happening maybe more like in the spring and summer, where, you know, a promoter's willing to sell 1,000 tickets in a 15,000 seat place, you know, like.
Well, you know, I'll give you an example.
Nothing, right?
You know, The Weeknd, he just performed at the Super Bowl halftime show last night, right? he announced a world tour, all these rescheduled dates from 2020 now being pushed to 2022. So, you know, for example, Montreal at the Bell Center, he's headlining and he's selling front row tickets for $650.
Yeah.
And it's also, there's a notice on the website that says this show will be presented without physical distancing.
Wow.
So, I mean, by the time early 2022 gets here, are we going to be going back to full arenas? And, you know, so it's, you can't really, you know, and are fans willing to invest, you know, $600 on a concert ticket for something that may or may not happen a year and a half from now, you know?
I think, yes. I think, you know, it's like art, you know, or a guitar. It's worth what somebody's willing to pay. And there's going to be people that are willing to pay $600. I mean,
Yeah.
You know,
That I fully agree with.
So, I mean, no, there's going to be people that say, I'm not going to a show. You couldn't pay me enough money to go see a show. And then there's people that are going to spend $1,500 to go sit next to two strangers. And, you know, it's a whole different world that, you know, my grandpa or my grandmother, she's 90 years old and she never thought like something this would ever happen. She's never seen anything like this in her lifetime, you know, and Cheap Trick's been around for 45 years. They've never taken a year off, you know, it's like.
Yeah.
Hey, let me ask you about that though. When you take it, you look at a lot of bands that are getting to we're doing the farewell tour and we've had enough and it's tiring and getting out on the road for 200 shows is too much. Does this re-energize the band where Rick and Robin go, yeah, a year off, I'm good to go? Or do they start to say, kind of like sitting at home. I like this retirement thing.
I don't know. I'm as interested as you are. I know for me personally, like it's the first few weeks were awesome. Like, wow, an actual like a break. I mean, in 10 years, I don't think I ever had more than 3.5 weeks off ever, like in one chunk. And suddenly I've got two little kids, 3 and 4 years old. And I'm, all right, I got some great time. And then summer, I was like, all right, I get to see these kids swim and learn how to swim and all this stuff. And then it's like, okay, now it's August. And I think everything just got canceled for the rest of the year. And it's like, oh my goodness, you know, and then now it's February. And now it's like, well, I could go to Australia for a month. Like, you know,
yeah,
I'm kidding, but it's kind of like that. You're like, now I'm in that routine, you know, where I was.
Hey, you're in dad routine.
Yeah. I never unpacked for years. Like I literally would pull my suitcase in. That was my road clothes. I'd wash them and put them back in my suitcase. I knew I was leaving. Why would I put it away?
Yeah.
You know, I knew I was leaving again in a week. So I'll just stash it at the front door and I'll just grab it when I'm leaving. That's what I wear when I'm out. And here's my home clothes.
It really is an entire readjustment. In Another World comes out later this year or in April. Talk to me a little bit about that in terms of, and I'm talking from the fan perspective. What are we doing? Is it just Cheap Trick music? Because you look at We're All Right, Bang Zoom, Hello, Bang Zoom, Crazy Hello, and even the Christmas album. Love them all. I personally think that you've brought a renewed energy to the band. I really appreciate you in the band because, you know, when you got a new guy in there, it's like a kick in the pants sometimes.
I don't know. I mean, thank you.
Yes. I know. And yes,
just
sure.
agree.
I mean,
yeah.
I think they're excited. And I think, you know, they signed with Big Machine. We did those three albums that you just named were on another label that really, you know, got us in the press, got the band, you know, Bang Zoom Crazy Hello was the first one. And man, we did like 2 weeks of interviews to the point where like, you know, holy cow, we got 4 more interviews today. Like, you know, they were even saying, we have done this kind of stuff since The Flame, you know? So it's awesome. It's great. Is it another Cheap Trick album? Yes. I think I've listened through it, like I said, a bunch of times this week, and there's some serious like hard rock, I would say, AC/DC. And then the next song is an acoustic ballad, if you will. You know, I hate to use that word. It's a bad word around Cheap Trick world. The fans. No. I mean, but I think there's some songs that wouldn't be on any other albums, and I think there's some songs that sound like Cheap Trick, which I think is a great thing. You know.
Well, what's the recording and like writing process like for Cheap Trick now? Is it still the same as it was before? Like you guys are getting into the studio and recording these songs, you know, like cutting them live off the floor, or like you know, what's the recording process like for you guys now?
I can't speak for how it used to be because I really wasn't there. But since what I've witnessed is, yeah, I mean, typically somebody comes up with a full song or just, hey, I got this chorus or whatever, and we email it to each other, you know, how you do these days. Or I think you used to actually mail tapes to people.
Mail a cassette.
Here's a cassette tape. It shows up and, you know, you listen through it. But Yeah, I mean, pretty much everything on this album has multiple writers, within the band.
Mhm.
Not, I think Linda Perry co-wrote one of the songs, producer Linda Perry. Besides that, I think every song is written solely by Cheap Trick, but I don't, I think it's all bits and pieces of everybody's creativity. But yeah,
Right.
you'll get in the studio. Every album was a bit different, but sometimes you come in and just let's work on this, and sometimes like, here's the song, you play it. It'll sound different with Tom on bass than it would with Rick's demo where that he did, him playing bass.
Mm.
That kind of thing. It's just same different flavor of this, same song, if
Hmm.
that makes sense. But yeah, I mean it's fully democratic. Here's an idea. I don't really have a chorus for it, or here's the chorus, but I'm totally willing if anybody only wants to cherry pick this part, take the bridge out for all I care.
Nobody gets offended, like, no, that's a shitty verse. We're not using that.
Here, let me wrap up on these two questions. First one is Rebel Rebel came out at the end of last year, and you got to work with Jack Douglas, the one and only Jack Douglas.
Yes, sir.
What was that like for you? Because I mean, you look at producers and guys, Bob Ezrin, Jack Douglas, Mutt Lange, et cetera, et cetera. That must have been I mean, he's as much a rock star as your dad or as Robin or anybody else.
Yeah. I mean, obviously Cheap Trick was and is fantastic and great, but like he's very responsible for them being why we're here talking today. He was dating a girl or maybe married to a woman that her family was from Wisconsin, and he was visiting, and he heard that Cheap Trick was playing at a bowling alley, and he went and checked him out. And the story goes, he got on the payphone and called the label and said, I'm signing this band here and now, and I'm going to produce them, whether you like it or not. And he produced their first album. So without Jack Douglas, who knows the trajectory of Cheap Trick. Sorry, I got a mint in my mouth.
Right.
Yeah.
But as you're watching him work, do you sense that, oh, I see why he's so revered?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, he had ideas but he's also, I think a lot of great producers they know who the band is. They just kind of strengthen what the band's already doing, or that part, right? Oh yeah. Here, let me hear that one more time. And then the band gets into it and plays a little better, maybe, or but they've known each other since 1974. So I mean, I was born in 1980, so Cheap Trick's known Jack Douglas longer than they've known me. So I think just with him, they're all telling stories and laughing about this time they were all together in New York City in 19 whatever. It's just seeing them with him was great for me, because I'm just a wallflower, just watching all the hearing those stories that I've heard a million times, but hearing them together talking about it just kind of makes it, oh, that actually happened.
And it just occurred to me, I actually saw Cheap Trick live before you were born.
Yeah.
Jeez Louise.
That's wild. I mean, I'm 40 years old, and to think they were already around for 6 years before I was born, And a Jack Douglas story. Cheap Trick was out on tour, I think, with Kiss, or I think it was Kiss. Maybe they were on tour. I don't know who they were with, but Jack called and pulled Bunny and Rick. They had a day off and said, hey, you want to come record with John Lennon tomorrow?
Yep.
And they flew from Montreal.
Yeah, we see. I was at that show, August 11th, 1980. I was there, and a great band called Tease opened up.
Yeah.
And they literally flew out and went over and did what was that? Just like starting. What was that? The Double Fantasy.
Double Fantasy album, yeah.
The Double Fantasy album.
I didn't even know that.
I was born that day, August 12th, 1980, and my dad wasn't there because Jack Douglas pulled him aside.
Wow. So my first Cheap Trick show was the day before you were born.
Yeah,
there
I was
you go.
The only kid that Rick wasn't there for. I mean, it was different. Those are different times. Usually, I don't think the father was even allowed in the room.
Hold on. We're going to do some psychiatry right now. So tell me about that. No, I'm just kidding.
The story goes that John Lennon smoked a cigar with my dad to my birth. So
wow,
pretty cool. I'll take it.
I'll take it.
I'm not upset about it at all.
And here I'll finish with this for questions. Jason Bonham, of course, does the Led Zeppelin Experience, or certainly pays tribute to his dad by going out and keeping the music alive. Is that something in the next 20 years you could see yourself doing? Or once Cheap Trick's done, you go, Dax is going to go be a dad. I'm going to go do whatever, Nielsen Trust.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's been brought up many times by a lot of people. And there's a lot of bands out there with no original members or one original member, and people don't seem to care.
No, they
I
don't.
also
It's
No,
brand,
they don't.
it's all it's brand over band all the
you wanna
time.
go out
Listen,
hear those songs, and if but at the same time, I feel like Cheap Trick's one of those bands that they were on the album cover. Like they're one of the like the one of the, like they say YouTube's
Yes.
the last band that every band member's name. Like
Mhm.
Cheap Trick is Cheap Trick. So I I don't want to do anything injustice if that's the right word, but
well, I don't
I
think
don't
it
know.
would
I mean,
be.
if there's a
Jason's
demand
great.
for it, I don't think I would do it full time, but at the same time, it's
Yeah.
I don't own the name. I don't know if I would even be able to go out
Right.
and anybody can go out and play people's songs, but
No, but the way Jason does it is very respectful. He's not
Yeah,
doing 400 shows a year. He's doing maybe 50 on a busy year.
yeah.
And he's very
mean-
clear about what it is,
To answer your question as honestly and openly as possible, I truly hope Cheap Trick goes another 3, 4, 5 years, and then I'll be 45, and maybe that was my run with playing those songs. I don't know, or maybe people will say we need to hear that music, and please go out, and I'll say you'd have to find the right guys. I mean, you'd have, I don't know if you make it. I don't. That's all I can say. I don't. I really. I don't.
And it's a tough one. I mean, how do you replace a Robin Sander vocal? I mean, you can't just go to the Walmart and pick up some guy. I mean,
No.
And do you get some goofy guy running around stage trying to be Rick, or do you just get some dude that likes Cheap Trick? There's too much to it. That would have to be something that had
the audition process. The audition process alone is like a TV show.
Yeah, let's just put it.
there you go. Make it a TV show, or you just hire Jeff Pilson and he'll figure it all out for you.
Yeah,
Jeff's a great guy.
He's fantastic, and what he's doing with Foreigner is fantastic.
Yeah, he's awesome. We toured with
Fully
them.
supportive.
That was probably my I love the Foreigner band. Those guys.
Yes.
Yep. Me too.
Oh jeez.
They're great.
They're-
man.
I quit drinking since then, I think.
Great fucking band.
Yeah, great, man. The Nielsen Trust live stream from Lincoln Hall. It's on February 24th. You got to get tickets, audiotree.tv/streams. Go check it out. 24 hours only. You got to go watch this. It's going to be awesome. So,
Yeah, I think it's going to be cool. We did a live stream back in December, and I'm hoping we do a bunch of different songs. Some, just some, I don't know, B-sides is the right word, but some rarities, if you will. Or just do songs in our own, form, our own version.
yeah. It's like, take them and do a completely different arrangement of them to give the song a new life.
So Jeremy, do they have to play Southern Girls for you to watch? Is that how this works?
If Southern Girls is not on the set list, I will not be watching.
We learned it just for you.
Yes. Dedicated to me.
Dedicated to Jeremy in Montreal. There you go. Well, thank you, Daxx. Absolute pleasure. Always love talking Cheap Trick. It's one of those bands between Kiss and Aerosmith. Those were the three Magi or Magi back in the day for me. Those were the three wise bands.
I think all three are still playing, which is pretty fortunate for everyone.
Good music keeps going.
Yeah, that's
Eric Singer, he's playing with Paul doing the big band stuff too. That's cool that he got Eric to play.
Yeah.
Eric is people are going to hate me saying
versatile because it's like he could do it all.
But he's probably the best drummer that band has had, and I know people are going to crucify me for saying that, but I mean, he goes out and does stuff with Brian May. He does this big band stuff. He can do the double bass drum Revenge era tour. He's just awesome. Period. End of story.
He's the nicest guy you're going to meet. Mm-hmm. I moved to LA. This is a long time ago, and I'd met Eric a few times here and there, and I'm Rick's kid. I'm walking out of Baja Fresh on Sunset or Hollywood or whatever, and literally, hey Daxx, and I turn around and I'm 24 years old and nobody and he's like, hey, it's me, Eric, and he recognized me and was like, how you been? Oh, I heard you just moved to town. It was like, that's Eric Singer, and he knows who I am, remembers me, says hi, not like he saw me and turned around. I don't want to talk what a nice dude.
I think being nice goes a long way.
It's a lot easier. Now it's a lot harder to be nice to everybody, but in the end, it's way easier than being a jerk.
Yep. Yeah. And a lot of the bands that we talked about that are still here after all these years, it's because those members have been nice to fans. They've been nice to the press. I mean, just look at the Def Leppard guys.
Yeah.
All super nice.
All the greatest guys. I mean, and currently Foo Fighters, there's not every one of those guys from the top down has the time of day for you. And we'll sit and chat.
Just look what he's doing with the drummer, with the 10-year-old kid.
Yeah, right. Isn't that wild? It's just
But that's what it is to be a band. It's not just about gazing at your navel and seeing how much money you can make.
No, that's what you call using your power for good.
Exactly. Yeah. The whole world needs more people like that. Just if we were all nicer to each other, we'd probably have COVID done with, and we'd be out gigging, and we'd all be rich.
Yep. That's it. Well, Daxx, it was really cool to meet you, man. We'll have to do this again.
Yeah, you too. Thanks for having me.
We'll have to get your dad on next time. We'll have like a cool 4-way chat.
I like that.
I have a question for him if I ever get to talk with him on here.
Write it down and put it in your safe.
I have it written down. I got it. It's all sorted.
Actually, thank you, Dag.
Yeah. I was gonna ask Daxx really quick before we go. We were talking about Jack Douglas and stuff. Just really quickly, I was always curious about this. As a drummer, what's it like working with a producer like that? And what does he bring to the table? And how does he elevate you as a musician in the studio?
I mean, I know personally, like, he stood in front of me. I don't know for every take. We only did one song, but he was there in the room, and it was like nerve-wracking, but also like, okay, I gotta step on my A game. And he was bobbing his head, and he was like doing the fist, and like in a good, like, yeah, not like not at me, but it was influential, and it gave me like, and I listened back to that drum track, and I think I can personally tell, like, I had a good time doing it, and I like my parts and that kind of thing. I think I can only speak for myself. He was very positive and just really supported what I was doing, but didn't tell me what to play. But you know what I mean? Like, it was open, but he liked it.
Yeah, it was like inspiring almost.
Yeah,
he's like the coach on a football team who's encouraging you to do what you got to do.
But is he sitting, behind the console? It comes with the talk back, like, all right, you could be hitting that snare a little harder, like, give me a little bit more attack on the cymbals, or like, what kind of direction does he give you?
I don't recall any of that. I mean, no. He was kind of smoking a cigar in the room with all of us. We recorded it in a studio that was just one big open room, really. Nice. And the control room, he had an engineer, Bruce, in there. But no, it was a hang. It wasn't a session. It was like,
yeah, him
and his old buddies getting together to record a cover tune.
Yeah, let's have some fun.
Let's do it a la Cheap Trick, and you guys do your thing. And for me, it's been really great to be with Cheap Trick, because people just, they let you do what you do with the band. It's not like you're a hired drummer and here's what I want you to do. It's like, no, you're in the band, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
you're you're your own character, and you do your thing.
I liked it.
Yeah,
I liked it too. Rebel, man.
I love it.
Rebel sounded great.
Sounded cool. Yeah, I mean, I can't wait for everybody to hear the new album. I think that's equally cool, and I think we did some other. We've done some. I keep thinking back. We've done some covers. We've done some albums. We've done a lot of touring, and it's been a nice year to sit and reflect on all that. And I've always felt fortunate, but I want to do it again. I'm not done doing it.
No, absolutely. Well, we can't wait to see you guys back on the road, man. I need to see you guys again in concert, and I'm stoked for this new album. I mean, I'm really looking forward to it. So
yeah, I think any album for any band, nobody's gonna love every song. Hopefully there's enough songs on every album that
everyone's a critic.
Totally. Oh, it's impossible. Yeah. I learned that a long time ago. You can't please everybody, and especially now with the internet, trolls just like, you suck, enter, and then they turn their phone off and go back to their job, and they don't think about what they just said to you, and it's like, that ruined my day, and they don't even remember typing it, kind of thing.
Yeah, well, I happen to be one of those fans that likes every song. My Cheap Trick playlist, I think, is like 500 songs that I keep in the phone. So come on, bring it on. Give me more.
Yeah. You're a maniac.
I know. Just give me more. I just want more.
I know I'm dragging this on. Sorry, I haven't left the house in a year.
Oh, hey, listen, I was trying to wrap up for you. I'll stay another 20 minutes.
Yeah, I know for Bang Zoom Crazy Hello, we recorded, I think, 39 songs. So like.
Okay, so where are those songs? When do we get them?
Are they just sitting on a hard drive somewhere at the label, or like?
I don't know that, but all I'm trying to say is that the album was all the songs that we liked the most. So like, if you don't like the whole album, then you have bad taste, because those are all great. You know what I mean? I'm kidding, but yeah, I mean, like, I think we have enough material that I think every album, song start to finish, is really, really good, because there's enough stuff that didn't make the album that wasn't maybe as.
Right.
But some of the stuff that hasn't made albums has been some of the greatest stuff. I mean, there's a song called There's a Place in France that came out on the box set.
Right.
I love that. That, to me, it's one of the greatest songs ever. And it's only on the box set. And Up the Creek, which of course came out on the soundtrack, but you never play, you never touch it.
Yeah.
Come on, some of these greatest songs are these non-album tracks that are just fantastic. Mighty Wings, fantastic. Come on.
The next album should just be non-album songs.
No, you know what they need? They need a tour, which is the non-album song tour and soundtrack tour, because they've done the In Color. What were the first three? You did the Cheap Trick in Color Heaven Tonight tour back in the day, and so now it's time for the the box set B-side soundtrack tour.
We played so much prior to COVID that we never had to rehearse. We'd learn a song backstage and go out and play it. And now it's like we might actually have to get a rehearsal because we haven't played together.
Yeah, everything works if you let it. There's another great song that's
one of my favorites ever.
Yeah. I mean, look at all these great songs that just never made. And so you've got 36 or whatever from Bang.
Yeah.
Start pumping them out.
Yeah,
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Bang Volume 2. I don't care what you call it. Bang the Leftovers. Oh, maybe you don't want to bang leftovers. That's
bang leftovers. It's my kind of leftovers.
Rock and roll.
I was like college days. Anyway, Daxx.
Cool.
Merci beaucoup.
This is awesome, man. This is great. Well, the Nielsen Trust live stream from Lincoln Hall, February 24th. Tickets on sale. Go stream it. Go do it. Go support. It's going to be awesome. I'm going to watch it regardless if you do Southern Girls or not. So,
but once they don't play it, you'll be on the internet tapping away.
Yeah. I'm going to be texting Daxx like, you son of a bitch.
You didn't do it. The encore.
Oh, man.
Guys, well, thanks for having me.
Merci bien. Cheers.
All right. See you later, man.
Bye now.
And